Leading Change in a Global Context Group Presentation by Jason Domingo, Corey Unger, and Kyle Gunderson. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 says, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." You know, in every organization there comes a time when things just need to change. Whether that change is a reactionary type of change forced upon the organization due to prior successes or failures, or if the change is a design change to help the organization develop and grow and move into a new reality. Throughout our coursework for this class, Leadership Communication, this fall semester, we have all been challenged to engage the task of leading change in a healthy way for the development of our own leadership ability, as well as for the benefit of the organization that we may currently be leading or an organization that we may lead in the years ahead. Leading any organization, no matter its current organizational health, is a difficult task and takes many skills to navigate well. As a group, we identified that although there may be many skills necessary to leading change well, one of the many skills that a leader must have to lead effective organizational change is the skill of humility. I believe that one of the most difficult changes to lead within an organization is leading an established organization through a culture shift. While changing an organizational culture is an extremely difficult task, there is a way a leader can do it well, and that's if the leader leads from a place of humility. Throughout our course readings and course video, one key to humble leadership that has continually stood out to me from all of the material that we have covered this entire semester is that humble leaders must be learners first. In his book, Organizational Culture and Leadership, Edgar Schein shared in chapter 17 about the difficulties of changing an organizational culture. He states that one of the reasons that it's so difficult is because of the high levels of anxiety that change creates within the staff of the organization. Schein goes on to share that one way a leader overcome this change-induced anxiety is to first learn the current organizational culture that exists and then move to unlearning that culture before they institute a new organizational culture. Learning the current culture before making changes will develop trust in your leadership. After we humbly spend the time necessarily learning the current culture, we can help the organization we're leading unlearn the previous and possibly unhealthy culture that had existed as we move toward the new reality together. When leaders spend the time learning from those that they are leading with humility. They're leading to develop trust, a trust that can create raving fans within the organization that will be needed as the leader moves forward change. One personal example from leading change in my own organization was benefited by being a humble learner and developing trust in those around me, comes from helping our church transition mission philosophies. When I came on staff, our church had an emphasis on short-term mission trips, but we did all of these trips in a one-off type of scenario. We chose a project and we did the project, and then we moved on to a new endeavor. The philosophy that I was hoping for our church to buy into was a mission philosophy that had long-term mission partnerships all around the world. Partnerships that lasted on into the future, not just project by project. This philosophy really came from the book When Helping, Alleviating Poverty Without Helping or Without Hurting the Poor and Without Hurting Yourself. It's a great read. But to institute this philosophy, I had to take the time to learn the mission history of our organization, go on some of the trips, serve alongside some of the teams, and learn from the success that had been here before I could lead into a new reality and a new philosophy for world missions. Humbly, learning from those who had gone before me was the best way to lead this transition.
Hey guys, this is Corey Unger, and this is my Leadership Communication in a Global Perspective group presentation. So today I'll be sharing about my global change leadership story and my experiences in leading change in Haiti. So what are the questions that I'm going to dig into? Well, one, what was our challenge? What was the leadership challenge in Haiti? Out of that, what happened? What was the conflict and what were we trying to get through? Out of that conflict, what was the opportunity? What was the chance and the thing that we were able to take advantage of in moving towards our desired change? And what was the essential leadership skill or posture that really was needed to move this forward? And we're going to suggest that that was humility. So our challenge was leading change towards unity and collaboration among 7 extremely diverse churches to do ministry together in Haiti. Now, we had done a lot of work to do some relationship building ahead of time, so we thought we were prepared, but when we got there, we ran into barriers. Definitely saw that people were stuck in ways that they have done stuff, and heard many say in verbal form and also nonverbal form that we haven't done it that way. Now, this is on all sides. Now, Alan Nelson in How to Change Your Church Without Killing It states that most of us find ourselves emotionally drawn to what is familiar, what is perceived as dependable based on past experience and is comfortable. So we like things when they're predictable. So we want predictability. Now, Edgar Schein would also state from a worldview perspective that when we have these deep worldviews and these deep basic assumptions, that when they're challenged, what it does in a person is it raises anxiety. And Nelson would also agree with that because he states that difference in worldviews and beliefs lead to conflict. So very similar to Schein. And in building on that, then Nelson says that conflict is the fertilizer for growth. And so that's a great way to see that sometimes the conflict does present new opportunities. So what happened when we brought these churches together? Well, we can see in our graphic here, we have many people trying to put the same piece in the puzzle. Well, we had a lot of people trying to come up with the same solution or the same solutions for one problem, but very different colors and views of how to do that. When we got there, we realized when we started working together, we had very different views and very different cultures. We had the Anglo churches, which were much more, I'd say, traditionally transactionally based with a single leader kind of set in charge. Whereas the Haitian national churches had a more group relational approach with a leader, yet it was definitely more group driven. And then somewhere between those two, we had our Haitian American churches who were diaspora churches from the United States, who were Haitian led. And they definitely rode between the two, yet put those 3 together, and we ran into tension and conflict. So what was the opportunity to move our global team through this conflict and change? What were the steps, and how did we turn something that was maybe a difficulty into an opportunity? Well, the first thing we did in our steps was we mediated. And Gil Robinson Hickman's Leading Change in a Multiple Contexts, she states that multi-stakeholder situations like this, much like we had, that the mediator represents a leadership perspective that transforms differences into opportunities. And that's exactly what we had to do. And we did it through the process of communicating. It was through relation building. And many times it was prayer. It was getting groups praying together. And in doing that, we were starting to relate. We were starting to connect. And in Dr. McCloskey's The Art of Virtue-Based Leadership, there's an important part about relating to know about yourself as a leader. In the 4R model, in the dissection, the E is for emotional maturity. And what Dr. McCloskey states is that leaders with high emotional maturity stay solid when times are turbulent. And that was an actually essential part of this, as we had the conflict, we had to have leaders staying solid to get through the conflict, to get through, because the goal was significant. So what was the outcome? What was the thing that we were pressing towards? Well, we wanted unity and we wanted collaboration. And what the outcome was is the more we leaned in with a certain kind of leadership posture, we saw that we got closer to that unity. Well, what was that essential posture? Again, it was humility. Humility was the thing that drew us together, that that gave us that kind of extra strength we needed for all the differences, for all the time we had to spend mediating and communicating and relating, and then letting go of the we haven't done it that way. Humility got us closer. And the second thing that got us there was just leaning into and learning John 17, learning about unity, learning that God is glorified when his people are unified. And that became the essential component, and that's what fueled the humility. And it was through leaning into that whole process that we started to see that the conflict became the very process of change. So it was an amazing experience, and that would be what I took from leading change in Haiti.
Jason Domingo here, talking about leading change in student ministry and escaping a negative culture. And specifically, we'll look at the key role, as we have in this whole presentation, that humility plays in leading change. A student ministry is very cross-cultural. You have adults bridging this gap to youth culture. You have teens growing up in a different global environment. And it's helpful to take a model, something like DMIS, to think about how do we bridge that generational cultural gap that is there. Our student ministry, one of our big objectives is to create a context for real faith to grow. And we do that through ministry environments. The challenge that we faced last spring was an incredibly negative environment that actually pushed students away. But if you fast forward to today, we have a very healthy environment. Our leaders are unified, our students are stoked, and there's a very positive vibe and outlook. And what I want to look at today is how do we change? How do we get there? And what I want to focus on is the model for change that Justin Irving has put forth, based on Cotter's model, but communicated in a more portable and memorable way. The first one is to create a sense of urgency, and we did this by essentially defining reality. We did not shy away from saying, "Hey, this is where we're at, and we can't be here because if we stay here, it will keep us from accomplishing what we really need to do." And next was harnessing a guiding coalition. We, as adult leaders, decided that we needed to develop a group of student leaders who would embody the values and the vision of our ministry. And from there, we made it very clear. We put it on paper. We cast that vision to align the majority around the plan that was going to take place. We knew that not everyone was going to participate in the Student Leader Initiative, but everyone was excited in the fact that there was this initiative going to take place. And we created a high commitment around this Student Leader Initiative. From there, we simply followed the plan. We navigated the course of the vision with the 8 students that we had brought into leadership. We made the commitment high, we made the expectations very clear, and as they started to embody that plan, momentum started to build. And through this routine of every week having our meetings, we developed mentor relationships with these students who were leaders. We started to imprint on the ministry through these students the visions and the values that were so key to creating a positive ministry environment. And it took a lot of intentionality. And through this, the students started to recognize, hey, there is a lot of good change happening, and we love this place. Now, what role did humility play? Well, one, it took a lot of guts for me as a leader to admit that this disastrous amount of negativity that I had let occur within our ministry. And I had to own up to the fact that I had let this happen. But as I did that, other leaders and students joined in owning that and wanting to do something about it. Secondly, I probably could have come up with a solution alone, but humility demanded that I involved others. I could have just come with a plan, but our adult leaders actually came together and I said, hey, let's solve this problem together, as opposed to me coming in like a superhero with all the right answers. And third, humility has kept me from trying to take all the credit. I could try to come and say, and look at this amazing ministry that I've crafted, but humility has helped establish that it was a group effort. It was a team effort, and we have succeeded together. Now, we hope that you make humility a key piece of leading change. It starts with us as leaders being humble, and that is the key to lasting and effective change.